In this episode of the Playmakers Podcast, I sit down with legendary media entrepreneur Brad Inman. Brad shares a fresh take on how AI will both eliminate housing discrimination and how AI will finally settle the debate on exclusive listings.
I think for the first time in the history of human life, AI is so transformative, it will be godlike. I think it's going to be the end of redlining because we're going to reallocate capital so that anyone, anywhere can get a loan.
He also reflects on how selling his home, even with top-tier agents, was still a slog.
Not seamless and not easy because the buyers stumbled on the mortgage, on the title, on the appraisal. We've got a lot of disruption ahead of us, and thank God for AI, because we as humans weren't capable of doing it.
And what it will take for NAR to really turn things around.
There's evidence. The new CEO, she's heading to slash and burn to save mistakes from 25 years. The problem is that whole scandal of NAR was 20 years in the making. These people tipped the industry off a long time ago that things weren't working and they had to change, and the management ignored it.
This is the Playmakers Podcast, and it begins in 3, 2.
Welcome to the Playmakers Podcast, where we go inside the minds and moves of those shaping the future of real estate, with your host, Andrew Flachner.
Welcome back to the Playmakers Podcast. I am here with no one other than Brad Inman himself. We are here at Inman Connect. Thanks for being here, Brad.
It's great to be here with you, Andrew. I'm honored and flattered you invited me.
So we're filming this at Inman Connect in San Diego, and I thought about where our friendship began, and it actually began at Inman Connect in San Francisco, about 500 miles north of here, 12 years ago.
Wow, a dozen years.
I found out about Inman because I was selling real estate in high school, believe it or not. My mentor, Linda Forrester, she introduced me to her son, who introduced me to Brian Boero, who said, You have to go to this Inman event, pitch your half-baked product on stage. RealScout was just an idea at that time. And without getting too carried away, I just want to say that this community has completely shaped my career and the trajectory of RealScout. Brad took a chance on me when I didn't have a reputation in real estate. He put me on stage, introduced me to a community, and I think the industry has a lot to be grateful for because of everything you've done. So thank you, Brad. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Andrew. You've been a very valuable member of the Inman community, and your tenacity and is renowned in the real estate industry. And Elon Musk says tenacity is the number one thing that helped him be successful. So
I wanted to start with a pulse check on where we are in the industry. Obviously, we had a COVID boom, and now, it's been a few years of a really, really tough market. And so how would you describe where we are as an industry?
Well, I think what's on the horizon is exciting and opportunistic and innovative. But I think a lot of people, particularly the hardworking everyday realtors, many of them are struggling. They've gone months, some a year without a transaction. So that means no income. So when you get down to that, it's really, really tough on a lot of people. But, there's still transactions. There's still a lot of them. There's still millions of them. They're just harder to come by. And people got a little spoiled, like you said, during the crazy market during COVID.
And so what's going to fix that?
I think it's fixing itself as we speak. I mean, the great thing about artificial intelligence is it's going to help to make the market more efficient, which means more transactions. It means buyers have more confidence because of transparency. And so that's going to help. I think, eventually rates will come down and all this pent-up demand will be unleashed. The good news is in a down market, prices are slipping in a lot of markets, which is great because that contributes to affordability.
Right.
And any homeowner is fine if prices slip, but it creates more opportunity for buyers. So I think you'll see sort of a triple whammy here between AI helping people, making the transaction smoother. You'll see rates come down and, you'll see more affordability because prices have come down.
When do you predict that rates will?
I don't predict those things.
All right, fair
There's
enough.
other people that do that.
All right, I want to talk about AI.
And anybody that does, they're wrong half the time.
I want to talk about AI. I know it's something you've become more passionate about. And when you talk about efficiency, I also think about the other side of that coin, which is, yes, it creates more transparency and people can do a better job. But does it also result in fewer people needing to do those jobs?
Well, I hate these conversations that start out with that, to be honest, Andrew. It reminds me of Y2K, where the hysteria, because we allegedly misprogrammed our computers at the wrong date and the world was going to come to an end in 2000. And everyone just had to go through the long list of what was going to happen. where the grid was going to be shut down, our computers are going to be shut down, the internet was going to be shut down. And the first question people would lead with then is, what about all this? I don't think we know what all this is yet. And I think to speculate, what I focus on is what's clearly a big, big opportunity, a transformative moment in the history of humankind, accelerated at a speed that is beyond anyone's imagination. And the good that will come out of it far surpasses anything we should worry about. It's already happening.
Let's talk
the good is already coming about as we speak.
What are you seeing, and what is your?
Well, I think everybody's up their game. It's the analogy of, humans weren't the fastest species, but once we were given a bike that humankind invented, we were faster.
Right.
And so you think of the bicycle of the mind. We're seeing realtors communicating better, anticipating their clients better. We see the customer being more aware and more informed, more likely to make a decision when there's transparency. Those are the kind of things I see. I'm in the longevity space, and there's all kinds of advancements in solving, curing diseases that were impossible that are being accelerated by AI. I usually I give the opening tomorrow morning, and I usually give that speech drafts, weeks ahead of time to all my friends. There's a group of about 25 people, and they give me honest feedback. They're those kind of friends, but they also tell me how great I am, which, who doesn't like that? And I gave it this time. I didn't do that. I gave it to my AI agent who, her and I got to know each other.
Yes.
And she not only made me feel good about it, but she constantly helped me improve it. And I've been giving speeches for 30 years. So anyone here that thinks they're on their top of the game in 2024 or 25, you're going to figure out what it really means to be on the top of your game once you deploy this technology. So human beings as a species are going to be better. In real estate, I think it's going to be the end of NIMBYs as we know them, which has been the bane of affordable housing. I think it's the end of housing discrimination. I think it's going to be the end of redlining, because we're going to reallocate capital so that anyone, anywhere can get a loan. And housing discrimination will make no sense, and because to the AI machinery, they'll be able to reconfigure where and how people live. And so I think a lot of big real estate problems will be solved.
Wow, that's pretty visionary. I'm curious.
I don't know if it's visionary, but
well, it is, because I think a lot of people think of AI as a productivity tool today, and
it's fine. That's what they think. We all know that the great thing about ChatGPT, when they opened it up to the public, turns out to be the most profound decision ever made. We see this in longevity, where scientists and doctors, and in real estate years ago, held on to everything for an elite small group of people. But once all the work by the mathematicians at Google and everywhere was released to the public, we suddenly saw mass adoption.
Right.
That if there's a Nobel Peace Prize, that woman, I'm forgetting her name right now, she should get it for allegedly saying, well, let's just put a search bar into the machine.
That's right.
And that was profound. And you think about real estate, the evolution here is really obvious. First, the data, which we have. Wow. Now we have the algorithms, right? And now we have personalization. And things are going to happen, practically speaking, in real estate. It will be no longer this pathetic scrolling and looking. It will be homes will come to the consumer instead of you doing mindless, endless scrolling. And imagine that in real estate. So it breaks down all kinds of barriers. I honestly think frivolous discussions about clear cooperation and all that stuff will go away because of this transparent structure. And then the holy grail, or what I call the deep end of all of this, is when three big trends converge. And they're already doing it if you look closely. And one is crypto, and all kinds. I mean, kryptonizing all of our lives in a really meaningful way, which means what? Liquidity, global liquidity. And then you look at blockchain, which, we talked about here years ago, but didn't make sense. But this idea of things being pushed down to the individual, that's a big thing, which AI is all about, and community, and safety and security and transparency come with that. And then you have the AI navigator, and those three things coming together, and the very structure of real estate changes dramatically in a very, very positive way. Because as I've always said, if it's more efficient, more transparent, and easy to use, guess what happens? We have more transactions.
I agree with that. But I think 10 years ago, you pitched the story or the vision of the Latte experience, right? Buying a
Yeah.
home should be as
We're
seamless.
a long way away.
Why are we so far away? And does AI change
Well,
that?
I just saw it firsthand with,
You just bought a home and sold a
I
home?
sold a home and bought a home, and I had 4 fabulous realtors. I had my AI agent helping me. And what I found there, buying was easy for Yaz and I in San Francisco. And primarily, it was all cash. So it was seamless, easy, 15-day close, great inspection report, written in plain English that I could read. A lot of help by these 2 great agents. And then the sell side, I had 2 great agents. I had Jackie Soto, one of the best in the business, and her newbie, Otto Vargas, a good friend of mine. But she was there to back him up. And not seamless and not easy because the buyers stumbled on the mortgage, on the title, on the appraisal. It was like, they faced an army of objections and detail and bureaucracy. So we've got a lot of disruption ahead of us. And thank God for AI, because we as humans weren't capable of doing it. I use this quote in my opening about Picasso, the famous artist, the Spanish artist who lived in France most of his life. He was once asked, he was very competitive, a little like you and me, competitive. And he allegedly competed with Matisse, even though he would never admit it. And he was asked, are you competing with Matisse? He says, no, I only compete with God. Pretty big, bold statement. But here's my big, bold statement. I think this, for the first time in the history of human life, AI is so transformative, it will be godlike. And, it's little things too. I don't know about you, but I rode in my first Waymo about a year ago, and it's when it hit me, my aha moment. When a human makes a right turn, invariably, the corner edge of our car is in the other lane, or at least in the yellow or the white lane. When it made that turn with such exacting precision, I said, wow, humans have been driving 100 years and they have not perfected that right turn. And that's when I went, this thing is, godlike.
Yeah, it's hard for me to square like how godlike that is with how broken and tedious a real estate transaction is.
It'll all be solved.
Well, and I think there are a lot of players in real estate that are trying to integrate all of their services and create.
Yeah, humans have done a really job of integrating it. Now, leave it to AI, and I promise you it'll be integrated. Part of a reason Yaz and I moved to San Francisco is to be in the center of the AI revolution. It's just like the internet back. It was so much fun in 1996, 97, because the internet was being invented in San Francisco. And guess what? AI is not being invented in Madrid or Miami or New York City or San Diego. Israel for sure, China for sure, but 90% of it is being invented
Silicon Valley.
San Francisco.
Yep.
So I get chills talking about it. I said, Yaz, we're going there. We want to be in the center of the action.
I love it. Yeah, San Francisco it's having a comeback.
Oh, unbelievable. Ever since you left, Andrew.
Should I come back? Maybe not. I don't want to ruin the party.
You should come back. We welcome you.
So you built Inman News from your kitchen table into a behemoth in real estate news and in the industry. What was the original spark that got that going?
It's accidental. Thanks to the internet, I typed a very early blog. They didn't call them blogs then. And I typed up a story because my editors at the traditional, because I was a consumer writer for newspapers, and my editors didn't want the stories about a scandal at NAR. And it's not they were afraid of the controversy. They just did say, no one knows what NAR is.
Right.
Is it the National Rifle? So who is NAR? But it was that scandal that precipitated me to put it on the internet when I didn't even know what that meant. And it turns out there were agents, RE/MAX primarily. They were the most sophisticated agents back then, probably today, and buyer's agents who were a little wonky and a weird group of people who were tech savvy. And they were on the internet and they read it and they gave me email and they were thanking me for telling the truth that their own trade group didn't. And that was an aha moment when I realized, oh, wow, I can build a business on the internet. So it was just that doing that made it happen.
And how did you scale Inman? Like, what are some of the...
Well, we, took a long time, but our audience built pretty naturally because I think we did it by the quality of the content and the integrity of the content. And Andrew, we made mistakes, but we stuck to old school journalism. And at the time, most B2B and even consumer journalism in real estate was pay per view. If you wanted to be in a front page of a magazine, you paid them.
Right.
If you wanted to be on stage, you paid them. And we attacked it from a point of integral journalism and did our best not to be spoiled by the money. And, in the short term, I could have made a lot more money. In the long term, it paid off dividends from it.
Right. Well, I think a lot of agents now are learning just the value of getting other people's attention. And some of them are like building their own media
It's great.
and content enterprises within their real estate business. I mean, that's what we're doing here with this podcast.
Yeah.
What advice do you have to those people who are producing content? How do they build trust with their audience?
Try to be credible and be independent, and don't spoil it by being conflicted as best you can. If you do a good job, I always tell people that go on the Inman stage, if you deliver a great speech, that's your best ad. Don't get up on stage and promote your own product. If you're credible, your client will listen to you.
Right. Yeah, it's good
That'd
advice.
be my number one. And not everybody wants to do that. And I don't judge others. Everyone has a different business model.
What's your advice to building a community? Because you've done a better job at that than most.
Well, it just takes a long time because you got to build trust a customer at a time. And then those customers have to meet each other and they connect themselves. And that's, we all know has happened at Inman where, marriages have been formed, divorces have happened, good times have been had by all, but also people know that it's going to be an upbeat, positive experience. You're going to leave here optimistic. You may hear things that scare you, but somehow people leave optimistic because we lay out a pretty positive vision for the world and always have, like opportunities right in front of you if you adopt these things and try these things. And then we're very proud. We always embraced, as you know, the entrepreneur, because
I love that.
When we got into this, the industry was afraid of technology, put down the innovators, put down the entrepreneurs, and we brought them on stage.
I really appreciate that. I want to move on to Live Long, but before I do that, what advice would you have to agents who are grappling with this market? Because I think this could be a market where you pull ahead.
Well, first adopt the new technology and try everything. And if it doesn't work, move on to the next one. And don't hesitate. Spend as many waking hours as you can learning it. And then we heard a quote at the CEO. I may have already mentioned this, so I did. I started to repeat myself, but all in all the time.
Right.
You just have to be. I've never met a successful real estate agent that worked part-time.
I interviewed Sue Yannicone and Gina Blafari, and they both said that in this market, it's important to be financially conservative, right? And to manage your P&L. I also hear that this is the time to invest in your business and go all in all the time. How do you square those two?
I always say in business, you always have to, the old expression, more checks than bills. So you have to make enough money to survive and support your household. So not to be pragmatic about the cost side. But I disagree in that this is not the time to invest. And what I would say, invest your most valuable asset, which is your mind share. Invest your own personal time learning something, which is a sacrifice to other parts of your business maybe, but it'll pay off in dividends. So money, I always, if you're a little bit old, you have a good gut, and trust your gut and go for it when the time is right.
This is not the time to spray and pray on your investments. This is the time to invest in yourself.
I guess so. I don't know about spray and pray.
All right. Listen, you reinvented yourself more than once, and now you have Live Long. I want to give you an opportunity to talk about that because
we need to go into it. It's just about living a long, healthy life.
Which I think everyone wants to know about. So
well, we're a media organization that looked at this. It reminds me of real estate back in the day when we entered real estate and a lot of other industries I entered, like television and video and all the things, online, e-commerce with home gain. All of these businesses were circumstances where the existing industry was elite, conservative, cared about, we call sick care. Doctors, they went to school. They think they're special. Many of them, not all of them by any means, but the institutional medical profession also influenced by, powerful interest. And then the other extremes, you had people entering this business that were brand new, biohackers doing really cool things, but, some chuckleheads in there selling products they shouldn't. And we're talking about people's lives. So I saw this, and the personal journey started. I wanted to live longer myself because I have a great life and I don't want to die. And I started investigating how I could take steps to live longer. Should have done it a long time ago. But I came from the school when journalists, drink whiskey and smoke cigarettes late until the night and wrote our stories. And this is a different world. And I learned a lot about it. And I saw there's a business here. So I formed a media company, again, just to try to tell the truth about biohackers, but also try to break down this medical elitism and try to bring both sides together. It's all about science. That's how we approach it, trying to find the best science that proves the things that people are recommending. And so we have multiple newsletters, podcasts, events, and it's just a formula that I know how to do.
And what are a couple of the tips for people listening who want to live a longer life?
Almost everything you do is free. It doesn't require a full body scan. It doesn't require a special blood test. It doesn't forbid a blood transfusion. It's everything we know that's right in front of our face if we take the time to do it.
Cutting down on sugar,
do a little Tai
exercising.
Chi in the morning to get going. Take a swim, take a walk, breathe, meditate, try to remove the stress, defriend more people than you befriend so you can take the whiners out of your life, socialize, interact with people. You can lean into the science too, but those first things we all talked about are absolutely free.
Right.
And you feel better, you're stronger, you're more capable. You don't need to run marathons. You don't need to bulk up in a gym. Go outdoors because the sunshine is as good for you as anything. And the smell of sweat, I think, in a gym is probably bad for you. I just made that up.
Well,
that's not scientific, Andrew.
Sounds about right to me. How do people find out more about Live Long?
LiveLongMedia.com. We got hundreds and hundreds of stories written by this extraordinarily clever, smart young woman named Erin Hunter, who is a treat to read. She writes 2 newsletters a week. We're launching a women's health newsletter and a doctor newsletter, all focused on longevity.
All right, I want to do something a little different and just do rapid fire questions.
Sure.
So no time for hedging, just what comes to mind for you. In 5 years, how many realtors will there be? There's 1.46 million today.
1 million. That's, again,
40%.
I'm wrong half the time in predictions, like everybody is.
Great, so half of these will be spot on. Private listings or full transparency? Which model wins out?
Seems like both are important. I mean, in the future, complete transparency is good, but we also have to protect the notion that the consumer is in charge and will be in charge more than ever in this new future with AI. And if they choose to do something, it should be honored and respected. It's consumer first. And I've always believed that and acted on that. A lot of people in these halls and previous industry leaders always mouthed the word consumer first, but never knew how to execute on that. So I think that it's probably a combination of both worlds. And I'm not ducking the question, but I also, that's how I see it.
Okay. Does NAR get stronger or weaker?
It depends on leadership. Everything, as you know, a startup is only as good as its founder. And I think there's evidence. The new CEO who's, she's heading to slash and burn to save mistakes from 25 years. I just interviewed the president of NAR, and he talked about the day he got the call when the scandal broke out at NAR. And he kind of acted surprised. And I said, wait a second, you're in real estate. You smell the mold before you get an inspector. Didn't you know you had problems? And he did. In fairness to him, he did a great job. But he seems like the kind of leader that's trying his best to be open and out there and transparent. And then they hired a friend of ours, Sherry Chris, who's an innovator, and she's coaching the new CEO, and they hired a great CEO. And I guess they made some other really good hires. You already see it. The problem is that whole scandal of NAR was 20 years in the making.
Right.
I got subpoenaed. I was on the right side of the angels by the DOJ 20 years ago and had to sit in front of a half dozen investigators with walls full of, 30,000 of my documents were subpoenaed in emails. And these people tipped the industry off a long time ago that things weren't working and they had to change. And the management ignored it. And they went on and did their thing. And the arrogance of leadership, whenever leaders become arrogant. So I think NAR survives when it loses its arrogance. It's truly transparent. And it brings in new leaders who are there to serve agents. And it seems like they're headed in the right direction.
I think so, too. I think Kevin Sears and Nakia Wright.
Good guy.
I'm excited to see what both of them do. And I'd like to have Nakia
you
Wright
should. She's
on the
fabulous.
podcast.
Yeah.
Is the average real estate transaction going to be faster or more of the same?
No, faster, smoother, easier. It's going to be joyful, not a hangover.
I hope you're right about that.
Yeah,
joyful. We're a long way away from from joyful,
Yeah,
but maybe not too much, too long.
I don't know if you've used Waymo, but I have a joyful experience when I use Waymo.
I do too.
I don't know about, Uber Eats, but I usually have a joyful experience with Uber Eats.
That's true.
I mean, there's no reason this can't be joyful. I mean, think about it. A driverless car can be joyful. I think a real estate transaction can. I'm going to use that tomorrow. Joyful.
Joyful. I like it. Commission compression, mild, moderate, or severe in 5 years?
All transaction costs are going to come down, so get ready. Although in my 2-part deal, selling and buying, across the board, 5% was paid. Now, there's a lot of mouths to feed there.
Yeah.
I'm not advocating for it. I'm just saying that's how it turned out. I can explain it. I don't need to, but that's how it turned out. And I wasn't upset by it at all.
Right. You're in the media business. I'm going to ask you, what is your pessimistic prediction of an Inman headline in 2030?
I just don't think that way, Andrew. I'm an optimist.
All right. What's your optimistic headline for 2030?
The world's getting much, much better. It's getting safer. It's getting easier to live in. Human beings are at a much better at cooperating. We've attacked diseases.
All right. My last question, which I ask everyone, is, look, you're married to the love of your life. You have kids, you have grandkids, you've built and sold many companies. What does success look like for you? What does it look like to live your best life?
Well, it's working with a team of people that I've been lucky to over and over, different teams, different places. That is the greatest joy I get about a business is this, we used to call it the boys of the band. You can't call it that anymore, I guess, but these people that work alongside of you and you create something. And the second is product. I love, and I don't say product like tech product. I mean, nothing I like more than a good story written by someone on the Inman team. Nothing I like better than, putting something to market. Like when we put the Live Long conference to market, it filled up and sold out. I mean, that's a thrill of life. So I would say, and then, being in love is the best thing about living on planet Earth. And I'm madly in love with my wife.
I think it's a great place to end it. Brad, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Andrew.
Really
You're the best. And keep up the good work. We all love you.
For everyone watching on YouTube or listening to the podcast at home or on the go, please be sure to like or subscribe so you don't miss conversations like this. This is the Playmakers Podcast. I'm your host, Andrew Flachner, and we'll see you next time.